Hello, everyone. So, here we are going to talk about business. So, I'm going to talk about everything around us is business, right? And that makes the world go round. It's in the form of financial transactions or circular economy, for profit, non profit, various forms. And of course, it has its own hiccups and corruption to go around it, but yeah, that makes the world go round. But what happens when businesses leave out a certain segment of the society? But no business wants to do that, right? No one wants to lose business. Then why does this happen? Whether they don't consider this segment as a prospective paying customer, or do they assume that these people might not have the money to consume their services or products? Or they never realize their existence in the first place. Here I'm talking about 1.3 billion people with disabilities. That is roughly 15% of the world population. And when we consider their friends and families, it's nearly 25%. That's a huge number, right? And the amount of money that they have to spend, that is also huge. But why are businesses losing out on them? That is the question. And that is what I'm going to talk about today. So my speech did involve that, you might be wondering why I, as a visibly non-disabled person talking about disability and business, the two words that are often not taken in one sentence together. It doesn't happen that often. But yeah, so the anchor gave it away that why I'm talking about disability, about my background. So let's skip that part and save some time, right? So coming back, we'll consider the business of exclusion first, that how the business of exclusion happens in this world. And I'll take up various aspects and various business vertical. Let's talk about education and playgrounds. How many of you here have had a person with disability in their school, in their class, or in their college? Yeah, so I saw 2 hands here, 3, 4 hands. Oh, very good. That's very, very good. Yeah. So you have had your classmates who had disabilities, right? So they could be wheelchair users, blind, deaf, autistic, having learning disabilities. It could have any sort of disability, right? And how many times have you seen playgrounds where people like children with disabilities were swinging or playing with other children, blind children playing in the same playground with others? Or have you ever tried to learn sign language to communicate with your deaf friend that you made? Right? Some points to think about. So my mother could go to school only because of her best friend who supported her and carried her bag. And once she dropped out of the school after 8th standard, my mom had to take her education privately. So she studied her college and high school all privately. And my father, talking about my mother again, she is a polio survivor and she got polio while she was 9 months old. And my father, who wanted to go back to his post-graduation, struggled to find a scribe to write his exam 20 years after he dropped out because of vision loss at the age of 22. That was in the 70s. We are in 2021. Blind students still struggle to find an appropriate scribe to write their exams today. How far have we come? Talk about retail. Right? We all like to do shopping, clothes, shoes, and everything. You might have had a fracture sometimes in your life. Did you struggle wearing clothes or putting on your shoes that time without assistance of anyone else? So many people with disabilities do not find adaptive clothing in the stores or online which suit their needs. Imagine a dwarf person has to go to the child section and not finding the right set of clothes which suit their adult mindset. And what about the e-commerce websites? If they are not accessible for the blind or autistic or for the deaf, how do you go about shopping online? Where is the pleasure of shopping? Forget pleasure. Where is the dignity? Coming to travel, right? So I'm a person who never went for a holiday in her childhood. Because both my parents are persons with disability, and we had all of this inaccessible world around us and the societal stigmas that exist even today. And when we grew up and started traveling, it was never ending in a memorable experience. It always ended with some argument or some conflict at some place or the other, right? I had to leave my corporate career to start a travel company so that I can travel with my parents and make people like us travel. I was perhaps the least traveled travel company owner when I started. Yeah, now things have changed, fortunately, but yeah, that was when I started. Coming to information technology, everything around us is technology, right? Even to pay 10 rupees at your kirana wala, you pay via any of the digital payment medias that you have around. So many of them. The question is, are they accessible? Can a blind person go about independently and use them? You have so many mobile applications on your phone. Wonder how would a blind person or an autistic person would use it as seamlessly as you do? Right? Like, that's technology. And with all of these edtech boom coming in today, billions of dollars being thrown in, they are completely still ignoring the potential and the big need of accessibility in education for students. 45%, approximately 45% of students with disabilities drop out of school because of lack of accessibility in education. You can wonder that these could have been a future solicitor, or a future business person, or a cricketer. But education failed them. These public and private businesses fail people with disabilities every day. And here I just mentioned 4 business verticals. When I talk, we can also talk about employment. We can also talk about healthcare. We can also talk about media and entertainment industry. And of course, the house of God. So coming to employment. My mother could never take a promotion in her career because that meant going to a top floor, which was inaccessible because there was no elevator in the office. So she had to deny the promotion herself, and the government office did pretty much nothing about it for 33 years of her service. And did I tell you there was no accessible toilet either? So this is the lack of employment that, facilities and employment. But she had to, because she had to raise us and earn the money to raise us. So when we talk of movies, we all see movies, most of them. I don't like much of them, though, personally. How many movies do we have which have a representation of people with disabilities? We have a handful, we can say it. But how many of these roles are played by disabled people themselves? None. And why is that? Well, I will leave it for you to think about. House of God, right? We say that in the house of God, everyone is equal, right? Everyone is welcome. So you are welcome, but not your wheelchair, okay? Your wheelchair is not welcome in the house of God. The very wheelchair that gives you the dignity and the independence to live an equitable life just like anyone else. Talk about healthcare. How many hospitals here have sign language interpreters to facilitate communication for a deaf patient? Imagine a deaf person being rushed into an emergency after an accident. Every minute is crucial. But you really cannot communicate because none of the doctors or nurses are trained in sign language. This is a daily living barrier. So now you must be thinking, this is such a demotivating talk. She's just putting out all the dirty linen of disability discrimination out in the public. Disability has to be inspirational. Disabled people just living their daily lives are inspirational people. And they inspire us and be grateful that, oh, let's be thankful for not having a disability, right? But I'm not here for your sympathy. Not at all. I'm here to talk about the business of inclusion and why it is important for every one of us to think about it and to realize the importance of it. So disability is a minority, the biggest minority actually in the world, of which any one of us can become part of any time. You're just one medical condition, one accident, or some years of old age away. So many of you might plan to have a child tomorrow. What if the child is born blind? Or what if the child is born deaf, or dwarf, or autistic, or have a gene that might render them disabled later in life? You don't know. Any one of us here can just go out and have an accident and be in a wheelchair for the rest of our lives. So even though I have enough disabled people in my family as my parents, my first cousin had a skiing accident and he's neck down paralyzed. At the age of 18, this happened to him. So yeah, we have a lot of disabled people in our family. So yeah, it's personal. But yeah, so the point I'm trying to make is, whether you will wait for that day when disability becomes personal to you, and then you'll think about what I do about it, or you prepare yourself today. Whatever you do, whatever product and services that you offer, or whatever work you get yourself into in the future, and be prepared when disability comes knocking on the door and demands accessibility and inclusion. You got to be ready, and trust me, it will come. Whether temporarily, permanently, it can happen any time. Many of you might be going through it already with your aging parents or grandparents at home, losing their vision or their sight, or their hearing, or their mobility. And did I mention the medical conditions like cancer or kidney failure can also make you disabled? So there is no one way to get into it. And many of the disabilities are not even visible at times. They're invisible as well. So here is the point, that why we need to talk about it today, right? So that's it. That's all I'm going to say today. Don't consider people as, you are us and they are them. It's not us versus them. We all are us. We all exist in our own set of diversity and unique needs. And we need to design a future that is inclusive of everyone. So like George W. Bush, senior, when he signed the Americans with Disability Act 30 years ago, he said, let the walls of exclusion get tumbling down. And with that, I'll end this today. Thank you.